I was just 25 when my high society in-laws publicly humiliated me at my own wedding, reducing my decade-long marriage to a cruel spectacle that would be seared into my memory forever. They whispered to our guests that I was too working class for their perfect family, that I was a farm girl who didn't belong among their refined ranks. The worst part was how my husband, once my rock, stood by and laughed it off, like it was the most hilarious joke ever. Years went by, and I learned to swallow my pride, to pretend it never happened. But the pain never went away. It simmered beneath the surface, fueling a slow-burning resentment. I started to notice the way my husband would roll his eyes at me, the way he would forget to include me in family gatherings, the way he would introduce me to his friends as my wife, as if I was just an accessory to his life. I began to realize that my husband was just as much a product of his upbringing as I was. He grew up with the same entitlement, the same sense of superiority that I once thought was just a part of being in-laws. But it was his, not mine. And I was tired of being the one to clean up after him, tired of being the one who had to apologize for his mistakes. As I stood before the folder filled with incriminating documents, his eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, I saw it, a flicker of fear, a realization that he was no longer the master of his own fate, until his phone suddenly buzzed with a text from an unknown number, displaying a single, chilling message: "You're not the only one with secrets." He took a step back, his eyes darting to the folder still clutched in my hand, before finally snapping back to mine. For a moment, we just stared at each other, the air thick with tension. Then, his expression softened, and he took a tentative step forward, holding out a hand as if to placate me. "Hey, it's not what it looks like," he said, his voice laced with a nervous energy. But I wasn't having it. I tucked the folder into my bag, my eyes never leaving his face. "Save it," I spat, my voice low and venomous. "You've had your chance to explain, and now it's time for you to face the consequences." He took another step forward, his hands open in a gesture of surrender, but I was beyond reason. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, his face twisted in a mixture of fear and uncertainty. As I reached the door, I heard the sound of his phone buzzing again, the screen flashing with an incoming text. I froze, my heart skipping a beat as I turned back to see him watching me, his eyes narrowed in a mixture of warning and accusation. His eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of truth, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving me with more questions than answers, and a whispered "Who are you?" hanging in the air. He took a step back, his eyes never leaving mine, and I could feel the air thicken with tension. I knew I should apologize, explain, but my words caught in my throat. Instead, I turned on my heel and stalked back into the apartment, the sound of his phone buzzing fading into the distance. I slammed the door shut behind me, the metallic clang echoing through the room. I stopped in front of the kitchen counter, my hand on the edge as I stared blankly at the sink. The water was still running, a steady beat that seemed to match the racing of my heart. I knew I should stop it, but I couldn't. My mind was already spinning with all the what-ifs, all the ways he could have done things differently. I pulled out my phone, the screen glowing with an incoming text from an unknown number. My heart skipped another beat as I saw the words "I'm sorry" typed out in all caps. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal, my eyes narrowing as I typed out a response that would only escalate the situation. But just as my finger hovered over the send button, I heard the sound of his phone buzzing again, louder this time. He was checking his texts. I watched as he scrolled through his phone, his expression unreadable. His eyes flicked to me, and for a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of guilt, but it was quickly extinguished. He shrugged, his eyes returning to the screen, and I felt a surge of frustration. I tried to keep my cool, but my voice was laced with venom as I spoke. "You're really going to do that? You're just going to ignore me and check your phone again?" He didn't respond, his gaze still fixed on the screen. I could feel the words I wanted to say burning in my throat, but I bit them back. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of hearing me lose my temper. But my anger simmered just below the surface, a potent mix of hurt and resentment. I took a step closer, my eyes locked on his, and that's when I saw it, a text message, flashing on the screen. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I reached out to snatch the phone from his hand, my eyes blazing with a mix of fury and humiliation. The text message on the screen, from his mistress, flashed before my eyes like a taunt.
"Can't wait to see you tonight," it read.
I tried to keep my grip on the phone steady, but my fingers trembled with rage.
He didn't flinch, didn't even look at me.
Just kept his eyes fixed on the screen, his expression a mask of calm indifference. It was like he thought I wouldn't notice, like I was just a fool who couldn't handle the truth. The truth that he'd been lying to me for months, that he'd been cheating on me behind my back. I took another step closer, my heart pounding in my chest.
"How many times have you lied to me?"
I demanded, my voice low and deadly. But he just kept staring at the phone, his jaw set in a stubborn line. It was like he was daring me to react, to lose my temper. And I was right there, on the edge, ready to fall off into madness. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. He didn't release his grip, instead pulling me closer, his eyes pleading for mercy as the mistress's text message flashed on the screen once more. The words, "Can't wait to see you tonight," now taunting him, not me. His grip on my arm tightened, his eyes never leaving the phone as he scrolled through the text messages. I felt a bead of sweat trickle down my spine, my pulse racing in sync with his ragged breathing. The mistress's words were a poison, infecting our air with a toxic cocktail of lust and deception. I could feel my anger boiling over, threatening to consume me whole. The injustice of it all was suffocating, the weight of his betrayal crushing me. I tried to push him away, to break free from his grasp, but he held fast, his fingers digging into my skin like a vice. "We need to get out of here," he whispered, his voice low and urgent.
"Now."
His eyes darted towards the door, a look of desperation etched on his face. I hesitated, my heart still seething with rage, as he pulled me towards the exit. We burst through the door, slamming it shut behind us, and I expected us to be safe, to be alone. But instead of the cool night air I'd hoped for, we found ourselves face to face with his brother, standing on our porch, a look of concern etched on his face. He stepped back, his eyes darting between us, as if searching for an out. The brother's expression didn't change, but a flicker of curiosity sparked in his eyes.
My husband's grip on my arm tightened, his fingers digging into my skin like a vice.
I tried to shake him off, but he held fast. The brother's voice cut through the tension.
"What's going on here?"
He sounded calm, almost detached, but his words were laced with a warning. I felt a shiver run down my spine as he took a step closer to us.
My husband's response was a low growl. "Nothing, just having a misunderstanding."
The brother's eyes never left mine, and I felt like he was seeing right through me. "You're not taking this very well," he said, his tone a gentle rebuke. The words were laced with a hint of accusation, as if he knew more than he was letting on. I felt my anger boil over, my desire for him to acknowledge the truth and apologize to me.
One single acknowledgement would be enough to make this night worth it, to make the pain and humiliation fade away. But I knew it was too late for that.
The damage was done, and now it was time to collect the pieces of my shattered heart.